Good evening. I'm Kelly Wright. Thanks for joining me tonight as we spend this next hour together. And I do sincerely hope wherever you are that you're safe and well, taking care of yourself and your family. My opening observations, let me get right to it. Women of color. The contributions they've made to our society is beyond measure. And yet they continue to strive to help us all live beyond the dream of equality, the dream of accepting each other based on the content of our character and not the color of our skin. They've contributed greatly to this nation. People like Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Fannie Lou Hamer, Maya Angelou, and let's not forget the late, great Lena Horne, an incredible award-winning actress, dancer, singer. She did it all. She started at the Cotton Club at the age of 15, and the rest is history. But she was also a civil rights activist. Lena Horne stated many things about the civil rights struggle. She knew many of the leaders, including Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She stated about Malcolm X that he raised my consciousness about myself and my people and other people more than any person I know. I knew him before he became Malcolm X. Of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Lena Horne stated this: every color I can think of and nationality, we were all touched by Dr. King because he made us like each other and respect each other. Certainly, in the troubled times in which we find ourselves living, we need to be mindful of some of the things that Lena Horne stated. She also added this: nobody black or white who really believes in democracy can stand aside now. Everybody's got to stand up and be counted. Lena Horne. And those are my opening observations. And the reason why I talk about Lena Horne is because of the fact that she still has influence on women today. And the women we're going to meet in today's show, like Lena Horne stated, nobody black or white who really believes in democracy can stand aside now. Everybody's got to stand up and be counted. Well, the Rockettes of Color alumni, these are ladies who are standing up. And we're going to meet them in tonight's program because the Rockettes of Color are stepping up and stating to the world that their lives matter because of the likes of the great Lena Horne and what their parents have instilled in them and what their struggle has stated to the world. We'll uncover all of that in tonight's show. You know, there are a lot of barrier breakers among so many women of color and what they're able to accomplish. And in this heated time of racial division and political division, I thought I would actually respond to a friend who reached out to me. Her name is Michelle Tolson. And Michelle and I met at a place that was actually helping homeless people in New York City. And she was there, and I walked into the room, and she was the MC. And my first thought was, she's beautiful, she's vivacious, she's brilliant. And then I discovered that she was a former Rockette. And she reached out to me just recently. Michelle, it's good to have you on the program. You have personified so much in terms of greatness and excellence in class. And I'm delighted that you would let that touch of class touch this show tonight. And you've brought along some of your lovely friends as well, also members of the New York Rockettes. Tell me about this and what the Rockettes of Color are doing.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much for having us. We are sort of new, founded about 2 weeks ago. All of us are former Radio City Rockettes. But we decided to get together to form our sisterhood, the Rockettes of Color alumni, because we actually never really knew each other working together. There were very few of us that were actually together on the line. So you would hear about some of these beautiful women, but you might not ever see them. So this has brought us together in a true sisterhood fashion, which we are so excited about. And we have some wonderful endeavors we're looking to do moving forward. And we're just proud to be able to be on our first interview with you, Kelly, to talk to you about this.
Well, I'm excited because this is a debut, actually, of what you're about to do. So, introduce me to your sisterhood and what the good things that you're about to embrace.
Sure. I'm actually going to let the ladies speak on this. Lainey, would you like to introduce yourself? Because you're the one that kind of started this whole thing on our Facebook.
Well, I'm Lainey Sakakura. I was in New York Radio City Rockettes for 2 seasons, I believe 94, 95. It's been so long, I'm hoping those dates are correct. And Setsuko was the first Asian Rockette, and then when I walked in 10 years later, she told me I was the second one.
Okay, so Lainey, when you came up with this idea, what spurred the idea?
Well, we were in a meeting talking about a diversity initiative, and I was there with Setsuko and Sally Hong, who's also in our committee and in our group, and she was on the road a lot. She spent many years there. And afterwards, I said, you know, Sally, you know, could we talk about this idea of having a Rockettes of Color group? And then, but it was that, but it really happened just recently that it really started to come together and form. And so we've only been in existence for a couple weeks, but I've honestly, it's been a lonely road being kind of, because it's not just Radio City, it's a Broadway career of being the only one, this kind of road of being a token. So the idea of meeting all these beautiful women I've seen from afar, like Michelle says, we've never been able to dance together, getting to be together. So there hasn't been a Zoom session or a meeting or email I haven't cried, because I've just been so inspired by my Rockette sisters. They're such amazing, powerful women.
And we'll be back with more of the show after this. So we also have, who else do we have? We have Erica.
Yes, yes. Thank you for having us on your show, Kelly. Yes, I'm Erica Reed Indione, and I was a Radio City Rockette during my college years. I attended college at Fordham University in New York, and I auditioned when I was a freshman in college, and I performed in the Christmas Spectacular for 99, 2000, and 2001. And then I took 2 years off from the show to start law school at NYU. And then I performed again my last year of law school in 2004. Like Lainey said, you know, I actually did perform with and work with Danielle Jolie and Michelle Tolson. Our years overlapped. But not until a few weeks ago when I discovered that Lainey and Sally had started this Facebook page, Rockettes of Color Alumni, did I reconnect with women that I had danced on the line with, but also had never known. Because since 1925, since the Rockettes were in existence, there's only been approximately 60 Rockettes of color over the course of 95 years. And this is the first time ever we've all come together and found each other, because we performed on the line at, you know, different times. And so that's why it is such a powerful moment for us. And I really do think that our connection was really bolstered by the political and social climate right now.
Yeah.
We were to find each other.
Yeah, very timely indeed. And last but not least, we have the powerhouse, because she's also a trainer and a professor, and you are?
I am Danielle Jolie. My full name is actually Danielle Jolie Dale Hancock. I have many names. I was a Rockette for many, many years. I was there from 93 to 2010, 18 years. I'm pretty much one of the few that have lasted that long. In our career of Rockettes of Color alumni, most only stayed for a few years because it was a very challenging career to have. And I was also the first woman of color to be the dance captain, and that was not until 2003. And it's been a long ride, like all the ladies have been saying, but not until a few weeks ago did it really feel like the sisterhood that we were first trained to always say. The Rockettes are once a Rockette, always a Rockette. We are a sisterhood. but not until a couple of weeks ago did we really feel like that. And like Lainey was saying, there has not been a moment we didn't do Zoom and I didn't cry. And like I want to cry right now. I'm a crier.
It's
But
okay.
I'm so grateful, Kelly, for you to having us today and to help us launch this sisterhood that we're achieving and trying to help other people of color, women of color, to strive and have an education that we have and teach them and enrich them and bring them to the levels that we are here without as much struggle as we had to go through.
Fantastic, Danielle. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll hear more of their individual stories and then the power of their collective story. A sisterhood, Rockettes of Color. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be back with more of the program right after this. Welcome back to the program. So I'm talking to four new friends, one I've known for a while, Michelle. Then we have Erica, we have Lainey, and we have Danielle. Together, they are an elite sisterhood, if you will. And the reason why I say they're an elite sisterhood is because they were part of the elite Radio City Rockettes, and they're women of color. And Michelle, I think I should ask you, how did you get to become a Rockette? Let's begin with you.
Well, Kelly, you know my backstory a bit. So in 1996, I competed at Miss America, and I had no fear after that. So decided to get on a bus from New Hampshire, as that's where I'm from, to go out and be part of that cattle call with 600 other women outside of Radio City Music Hall, and was fortunate enough to be casted in 1997. But I was not cast in New York City. I was cast in a Coney show, which is Christmas outside of New York, in Chicago. So I worked in Chicago for 3 years as a Rockette, 97, 98, 99, and then was re-auditioned and was cast at the Music Hall 2000, 2001, and 2002. So I had a 6-year span. I was able to work on the outside show, which is a different feel than being at the Music Hall, and made some wonderful friends and met some of these wonderful women.
That's fantastic. Erica, what about you?
Yes, I moved to New York from Washington, D.C. To attend college in 1998. And giving my age, I have a big birthday coming up. And my mom called me and she said, "Hey, I see an audition for the Rockettes in the paper." And I said, I've never even seen the Rockettes, Mom, and she said, "Just go." And I was late for the audition. I got there. There was 300 women there. I was like number 299. And 2 days later, 2 days of grueling auditions, and they whittled us down to 12. And I was one of the 12 that made it. And it definitely was one of the highlights of my life, up there, top 3 moments. I needed a job in college. Yeah, and I grew up dancing. My mom had a dance studio. And so during the school year, I would perform in the day cast at Radio City. And then I would go to school at night. And I did that throughout college. And then it was too hard, law school, so I had to stop. But then my last year of law school, I actually was able to do it again. The summer before my last year of law school, I worked at a law firm and made a little too much money for my scholarship. So NYU said, we're going to go ahead and reduce that. And so I needed a job. And my mom said, "Well, you know what you know how to do best." And so I ended up re-auditioning to be on the show one last time. And the people I ended up working with at my first law firm out of law school actually came to see me in the show. And that was my final season. But it was a joy.
That's funny. I'm a lawyer. Would you like to be my client? Here's some tickets, by the way. Come see me as a Rockette.
I was like, yeah, hire me.
Kelly, I want to backtrack on something Erica said, because a lot of people don't realize this, and this will give you an idea of why 60 Rockettes of Color is such a big deal. New York City has 2 casts of Rockettes. We have a day cast and a night cast, or a gold and a blue cast. So that puts you at, 60 Rockettes?
Yeah.
80
a season in New York City. But then there were shows around the country. So we're talking thousands of women have been Rockettes over the years, but there's only 60 that we know of color.
Lainey, how did it happen for you?
I was that year I was in a new Broadway show, a Tommy Tune show that ended up being a big flop unexpectedly. And then I needed a job. So it's a different union. So I had to stand outside in a line of, like she said, about 600 women. I had never experienced something like that before. And yes, grueling auditions. And I managed to get it. I was really excited. It was a very challenging job. It was very different from Broadway. That kind of precision dancing is different. And it surprised me. But it filled me with such pride to be a part of that line. And then the second year, same thing, I was kind of vacillated back and forth. I was asked to be in a Harlem Nutcracker, Donald Byrd's company. And I had to make that choice again. And it was hard, but I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do one more year, and I stayed with them one more year. And then after that, I moved on. But I'm very grateful for my time there. But yes, this is the first time meeting these women, these Rockettes of color. I never got to be with them. I mean, like I said, I was the second Asian Rockette, and the other one was on the other side of the line. So it was 36 women. I was like, I don't know where Sexco is. There's 35 women over. So yeah. So we never got to be with each other.
Wow, and we're doing it now, so I feel honored. And Danielle, I've got to ask you, you served the longest as a Rockette, but how did you get into it as well?
Well, I had just graduated from college, and I was off a dance company tour from Hubbard Street Dance Company, and I was done with that concert work. Alvin Ailey asked me to join, and I said, I want to do any concert work. I felt that it's bad saying no to Judith Jamison, but I just wasn't interested. And I saw audition for the Rockettes. I said, I don't know what they are. I think I've seen them once. And I'm like, oh, let's go. I took a whole bag of shoes. I didn't know what I was going to use. And I went in there like all the other ladies. And the irony, though, is that like the next day, I also auditioned for the Nick City Dancers. So I am the only Rockette that ever danced with the Rockettes and the Nick City Dancers at the same time. So I literally, for 2 years, I'd be doing a show, Radio City, run down the street to Madison Square Garden, do a game, then go back to Radio City. I went to 2 years. I went back and forth doing that. And, but my whole career at Radio City has been doing double. So I also did a Broadway show while doing the Rockettes. I also had 2 kids while being a Rockette. I was on stage pregnant with 2 kids. Not at the same time. But it's been a roller coaster ride, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but it's now even more complete because like all the ladies are saying, I spent my whole 18 years waiting for this moment, and it's worth it. It's worth it.
It's amazing to hear from all 4 of you, and to Michelle's point of the many Rockettes out there, to the 1,000 Rockettes that have been out there, to think that there have only been 60 women of color who have crossed that barrier and made it as a Radio City Rockette. I want to talk more about that and what that means to all of you and what you'll be doing to let the world know, particularly in this heightened time of racial awareness and racial injustice and people seeking racial unity at the same time, how you can bring that to bear and be part of that, becoming an instrument of peace through your dance, through your history, through your legacy. Back with more of the Rockettes of Color right after this. Welcome back. So I'm really having a great time introducing you to the Rockettes of Color. And really, this is something that's so important to women of color because Michelle, Erica, Lainey, and Danielle will tell you that it's not easy to get up on stage and to go through a long line of audition. You've heard their stories of how they became Radio City Rockettes. And for those who do not know it, the Rockettes are world renowned. This is no walk in the park. This is really something that they've broken through a glass ceiling and they've gone on to do better things. But I think it's so great, Michelle and Lainey and Danielle and Erica, that you have come together to talk about Rockettes of Color. And one of the people that you talked about in launching was the great Lena Horne. And I have so much love and respect for Lena Horne and all that she embodies in terms of the growth of women of color and Black women who at a time really had a difficult time, as they still do today. Tell me about Lena Horne and why she became someone that you recognize in launching Rockettes of Color. Any one of you.
Well, I'll take that. I think that she is the epitome of breaking through the Hollywood artistic barrier to reach mass universal appeal. And her story resonates with us because we too broke through a barrier in an organization that was historically known to be primarily a line of white women. And that's why Lena Horne is just the epitome of an idol for us, because coming after her, she certainly broke through that barrier first.
And she also did it with class, excellence, professionalism, and that's how we are, and that's what we admire, because that's how she always held and presented herself.
I think, I think also that, you know, there's that story about her life that she used to perform at the USO shows, but the troops were segregated for her performances and she refused to put up with that. So she walked to the back line, the front line, the African-American troops to perform for them there. And then when there was, because she wouldn't tolerate it, she quit and then financed her own tours to perform for them. So the idea of you work hard, you try to change the system, and then sometimes when the system can't be changed at that moment, you find another way. You find another way to achieve what you believe in your heart. And I think that's what we're doing as a group. We want to do our best to work within the system that's in place. But if we can't do that now, maybe it's time to think outside the box and work on some other ideas to make change and move us forward.
We really want to inspire and educate, and most of us work with dancers. We see all these young dancers coming up, but without representation, what do they have to look up to? And even as a Rockette, I didn't see any on TV growing up. My first form of representation for me of excellence was Vanessa Williams in 1983, becoming Miss America. So there's my first form of excellence in the Black community. We want everybody to see that you can be excellent in whatever you do, but you have to be able to see yourself doing it. And that's one of the reasons we formed to come together, because you can do it and you will do it if you can see it's been done before you.
That's fantastic. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue to talk about what the Rockettes of Color are planning to do in this age of COVID-19, as well as in this age of heightened racial awareness in the wake of the deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and so many others. And we'll talk about their purpose in terms of social justice and awareness of what women of color can do, are doing, and will continue to do to lead this nation forward, not backward. Back with more after this. Welcome back to the program. So we just got a surprise, the Rockets of Color. I've been talking to Michelle, I've been talking to Erica, Lainey, as well as Danielle, and we just had someone else join us, and that's Sally Hong. She is one of the co-founding members of the Rockets of Color. Sally, thanks for joining us, and tell us how you came up with this idea, you and Lainey, about Rockets of Color.
Hi, so thank you for having me. Lainey and I went to the Radio City Christmas Spectacular, I believe it was 2017. We met Setsuko Maruhashi, who was the first non-white Rockette hired, and the three of us took a picture. And after that day, Lainey said, gee, I really wish there was a way to find each other and get us all together. Hitherto we had never met each other. We didn't even know who did it other than us. And so we started to reach out, and we found people, and those people found people, and it's been, I think, 3 years since. And here we are. We found each other. We've talked. We finally met. We share stories. It's been a beautiful sisterhood. It really has.
And Sally, let me just ask you, because I've talked to the others about the purpose, and what's the purpose of having the Rockets of Color? Because certainly we need to analyze and acknowledge what you've been able to accomplish. But in today's times, I think we really need something as refreshing and as engaging as talking about women of color who became part of the world famous Radio City Rockettes.
Mm-hmm. I think now is the perfect time to come together to try to make a move. I think we would love to educate and to inspire and to increase diversity in the line. We actually have a statement, if you don't mind, that we'd like to share.
Sure.
Michelle, if you could start it for us, please.
Ooh, which statement are we talking about?
The
first
first
1925 one, the 4 points.
I'll let you start because I have the last one Erica sent me.
Oh, I'm so
That's the
sorry.
one. That's the one.
Okay.
The Rockettes have been in existence since 1925. Over the course of 95 years, there have been only about 60 Rockettes of color to have ever existed.
For the first time ever, those 60 Rockettes of color have come together to form ROCA, the Rockettes of Color alumni.
Through ROCA, our hope and dream is to inspire and educate the next generation of Rockettes of color.
Ultimately, ROCA not only wants to be a catalyst for increasing diversity on the Rockette line, but also within the lines of management within the Rockette organization.
Erica, I'm going to let you finish because I don't have it.
That's it in a nutshell.
Because of where I am in Pennsylvania.
That's our mission. That's our mission.
That's it.
We will gladly send you that, Kelly, if you would like it to put on your wall. You can frame it.
No, I'm applauding you because look, so that means to me that you care not only about what's going on in terms of what we hear in the news, the protesters who've been out there peacefully protesting and trying to call for racial justice, but you're also laying down the gauntlet for the Rockettes to acknowledge that they too can step up and be part of helping to fuel the passion for racial reconciliation, for healing, and paving the way, like you're doing right now. You're paving the way for women of color, those little girls of color who may have gone to a Rockette Christmas special, the Christmas spectacular that takes place every year at Radio City Music Hall, and all the other specials that you do when you appear on television and special programs. Little black girls, little girls of color, brown, yellow, red, they're watching, and some of them dream that they'd like to get where you've been. So now you're telling me that you're establishing a way of helping them get there. And I think that deserves applause, that you're actually doing something to build a better future for our girls of color.
Thank you so much. I think it really speaks to our hearts that we want to turn around and help others. There were a lot less of us when we all first started.
and now you're growing. And so as you step out to do some of these programs that you're talking about, do you ever envision that perhaps all of you will get back on stage and perform as the Rockettes of Color?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
It's been tossed around. You never know.
All of you look like you're still in great shape and you're still dancing, and a dancer never quits, right?
Ever.
Right.
Right.
But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're having a really good time and a good fun conversation, but they are serious about what they're doing, the Rockettes of Color. I absolutely love this. I think it's refreshing. We've heard so much about the negative things that have been going on. We've seen people on the front lines of COVID-19 and the heartbreak that goes on there. We've seen the heartbreak from the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, and we just want to. This is a moment of actually giving you some peace and some release, and then also some inspiration from these wonderful ladies. Back with more after this. Welcome back. So I've really had a great time on this Friday's show. As many of you who watch this show, you know that I always like to bring people on the program who can inspire us. And certainly the women that I'm talking to right now, the Rockettes of Color, are inspirational, so inspiring to me. Not only do they entertain, but they educate, they empower. And that's the word that I would like all women of color to understand, that they are empowered by the God-given gifts that they have. But we do have to go out and develop it, right?
For sure.
We just can't let it stay. And there's some women who just who might be feeling like, I can't do it. You know, look what's happened to Breonna Taylor. Look what's happened to this person. Look what's happened to that person. So ladies, I'd like to ask a final word from you. You know that Black Lives Matter is out there. You know that people are out there protesting for racial justice. They're asking for police reform. They're asking for respect for people of color. They're asking for more diversity, more inclusion of all people. But in particular right now, because of what's happened to Black men and Black women and brown and yellow and red, we've got work to do. So your final thoughts to America and the world.
We have, as a group, we've come together to provide a positive space for people to be able to voice how they feel, because sometimes we don't feel good, and to be positive and active in our community. We are coming up with ways that we can be role models within the community and become activists in a peaceful way to show how much we stand with the community.
You know, Michelle, let me add to that. You said we want to be role models. To me, you already are. And I know that's a tough position to be in, but I've seen you personally. I know you out of all the group personally, and I've seen young women follow you and lean on you for advice, including the former Miss America, Nina Davalori, when we met her together, and all that she was going through as a South Asian woman, and yet she was being scolded and criticized by other members of the Indian community who could not accept the fact that she was dark complexioned.
Correct.
I'm thinking, you can have scratching my head and said, you got to be kidding me. This is a wonderful moment for all America, and people were actually criticizing her, saying that she was too dark. So to your point, I think it's important that each and every one of you continue to strive to bring excellence to all women of color, and that grace and that class and that elegance and that tenacity to keep pushing the envelope. Ladies?
Well, I mean, I would say that, I'm honored to be considered a role model. And I hope that, our individual stories, my story inspires another generation. I worked my way through law school as a Rockette. I worked my way through college as a Rockette. It it afforded me the opportunity to educate myself. And I would just say that the sky's the limit. You know, you're not in a box, and you can change your life, education, with perseverance and with support. You know, that is so crucial. I was pushed by my community of parents and aunts and uncles, that made me feel that I should and could achieve a certain level of success, to provide for myself and my family. You know, being a part of this Rockettes of Color alumni group has filled my life in a way that I didn't expect. I was a former prosecutor, and then I was a criminal defense attorney. And so a lot of what's happening in the world, particularly in the criminal justice system and with police brutality, is something that I feel very passionate about. And I needed this space of women to work on something positive in the midst of such a trying time. And it has been and is that space for me to shift the perspective of younger people, younger women of color that might be feeling a little discouraged by all that's happening in the world right now.
That's great, Erica. Thank you. Danielle.
You know, I was always like at the ladies, I have wonderful support. Thank God I did have that. My mother and my aunt and my grandmother, and always was taught never have a what if. Always keep trying. You mess up, it doesn't matter. You keep moving. And that's what I've always tried to teach my own children. And when we created this, it was there's no what if. We just had to do this because we need to keep continuing to support those that don't have a support system. There are so many that don't have that mother or that father figure or that aunt and grandmother that help them and strive. And we have developed that group that they can come to and be safe and know that they will get support from us. They will get whatever they need from us. And that is always important to me, to always be there in case you need just to listen, just to hear it. You don't even have to have us talk back, but just to hear a sounding board. And that is what the Rockets of Color of Alumni is coming to be. We are a sounding board and a relief and safety net.
That's awesome. Sally?
I would say to our younger sisters out there, there is always a place for you that is safe for you to chase your dreams. Not just chase your dreams, but to speak out on any issues. And there are different ways to do it. So when we formed Rockettes of Color Alumni, just as any sisters, we don't always agree. We don't always agree on the same thing. But we all had a voice. And we could all speak our minds, and everyone would discuss it, and we would come together to make an agreement to go forward. And I feel that is a microcosm of life, of the world. The world is not always going to agree with us, and it's up to us to find a way to travel through life. So I would want to tell them there is a way. It feels awful right now. Yeah. But America is speaking about what we want them to speak now. Now is the time that they're doing it. And I also refer back to Lainey when she said she grew up being told to be quiet, to fit in and be safe, because her parents and grandparents, her father and her grandparents were at a camp in America. So I grew up with that same thing too. I'm not Japanese American, but I tend to be the quiet one to fit in. But I had the same troubles and tribulations that I was able to overcome. And so I found a safe way to do it. So as long as you know what you want, you can go out there safely and you can support each other and they will support you.
Kelly, I would like to say if we have any young listeners or, people that need a place to speak, we do have an Instagram. They can come, they can DM us, we'll answer. We have a Facebook page. We are here to help anybody that just wants to vent. It's not about us being all over social media. We're here to inspire and educate. So please find us. One of the 60 of us, or all 60 of us, will respond.
Can I just say, ladies, thank you. It looks like Lainey may have fallen off the call, but I have so much respect and mad love and admiration for all of you. What an incredible time that we've had. And I know my editor's going to be killing me. He's going to say, how can I fit all of this in? So it just means we're going to have to do this again and again and again to keep reminding women of color globally, actually. I think you will go a lot further than what you are currently thinking. But bless you, God bless you, God bless you. And thank you for letting your debut be right here on the Kelly Wright Show.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
Kelly.
Wright,
Thank
thank you
you.
for having us.
I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
all. Rockettes of color. Keep rocking, keep kicking.
Yes.
We will.
I love it.
Yes.
Woo!
We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back. I want to thank the ladies who make up the Rockettes of Color. Certainly, we're going to be watching them to see what they will do in the future. I have no doubt that it will be spectacular as they keep rocking and kicking to help all women of color, little girls of color, grow up to be great. And my final word, I leave you with the word of Lena Horne. She stated, "It's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way you carry it. Carry it by the comfortable handles of gratitude for what's positive and that it is not worse, rather than the uncomfortable edges of bitterness for the negatives and that it is not better." Lena Horne. Hopefully you've been righted, ignited, and united to keep spreading love, freedom, and peace. Have a great weekend, everyone. Good night.
Come on, all aboard.
Let me break it down for you like this.
The rhythm of love is easy to find if you're listening. The color of light isn't red, black, or white, but it's crimson. We all bleed the same. If you don't feel the groove, it's alright. Just give it time, give it time. Come on, y'all. Get on board. Mankind won't survive if our hearts beat inside a hateful rhythm. You see, love isn't bought, but comes with a price of forgiveness, and we all bleed the same. Yeah. If you don't feel it now, just wait. It's coming on, a love train. Just give it time, give it time. Get on board. That means you and you and you on the love train.